When I finished my high school, I said, I want to be a chef actually. I like it. I gained some money, I put it aside, and I traveled to UK. I reach at Manchester Airport. I go out, I see that pitch black, no taxis around, nothing, I'm sitting there for an hour, and suddenly I feel a pat in my back and I hear my voice, Doxis. And that's how my journey started.
As you know, here on the Chef JKP Podcast, we love to push boundaries and discover the people who have made a big impact within the hospitality industry. The guest on this week's show is responsible for developing the food on Emirates Airlines and many more. On the podcast this week, I talked to Doxis Bekris. We discuss his journey of growing up in his native Greece, to then working with some of the best chefs in the world, to then stepping into the world of airline food. I had absolutely no idea what it takes to run a beast like the Emirates in-flight catering operation. And let me tell you, it's not for the faint-hearted. The sheer number of meals per day is something that is going to blow your mind. This was the type of conversation which I had to constantly ask question after question because there was so much information to digest. No pun intended. Doxis is a real gent. Get ready for a full-on conversation. Time to rock and roll.
This is Doxis Bekris. I'm the Vice President of Culinary Search Services and Concept Development for Emirates Flight Catering. If you like the podcast, make sure to follow, share, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Chef JKP Podcast. And on the show today, we have Doxis Bekris. He is the Vice President of Culinary, Shared Services and Concept Development for Emirates in-flight catering. Doxis, welcome to the show.
James, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So, as we always kick off the show, can you please tell me your first or favorite childhood food memory?
Well, it's quite a few actually to share, but one of the best things that I always remember till today is actually, obviously, we all have a beautiful mother that we believe is the best chef in the world, and same goes for me as well. So I always, I'm very fond of, it's a Greek recipe called souzoukaki. It's basically like mini kofta or kebab, but cooked within tomato sauce, very slowly cooked with a lot of cumin. So we have Greeks, we have a lot of also Middle Eastern, flavors and spices used in our cuisine. And that was always served with mashed potatoes. So this is my most fun food favorite, idea from my childhood.
So when it comes to like your family, when you were a child getting together, can you tell me the types of foods that were on the table when you had a sort of family gathering?
Yeah. Well, I'll start a little bit further back. Basically, a family of 7, 5 kids, and obviously the 2 parents. And that table basically was always full of many different things, not just the Sunday roast, for example, that different cultures have. Every single day was like an array of different type of foods. You will have from pasta, you will have from roast chickens and lambs. Obviously, in Greece we are very fond of lamb and we eat a lot of it. And of course, seafood, etc. But when it comes to meat, this is basically what we always had on the table. We wouldn't wait for Sundays, we wouldn't wait for weekends. Meat, basically lamb, was always there.
So always on the table.
Yeah.
Wow. So then when you were sort of in your adolescent teenager phase, what were the types of food? You still went to Greek, or would you have more fast food? What did you like?
I I was born in an island in Greece called Rhodes. Rhodes, it's on the southern part of Greece.
Very famous Greek
yes,
island,
it
right?
is. It is. But my father comes from Peloponnese, Western Peloponnese, is a mainland, basically, Greece. And at some point, we moved there. Now, when we moved, we went, obviously, to a smaller village. So we weren't really much aware of, the fast food scene, etc. Of course, available, but we had a lot of, fields. We still have olive trees. We produce our own olive oil in the family. My father had always, fields with tomatoes, grapes, vines. We used to produce our own wine.
Wow.
So we never really had the experience of that fast food, scene out there. But of course, the more we grow, we travel, we see things that at some point came into our life. But I will say up to 16, 17, we only used to eat what we had on the table from within that village.
Right, okay. So then when it came to sort of college and educational path, did you have the foresight? Did you think, okay, I want to be involved in culinary or cooking, or did you have a different path in mind?
There's a couple of things there that kind of shape my path. I always wanted to be either an artist in the sense of a singer or, a painter or even a, designer in regards to clothing, etc. But because my mom used to, cook every single day, so many different things. And for some reason, it was always me trying to help her. So that kind of, made me feel and see that part of the cooking a little bit more interesting to me. And that's how I basically immediately said, you know what, when I finished my high school, I said, I want to be a chef, actually. I like it. And that's how I moved to go to a culinary school. I didn't study anything else. I started immediately after school saying I'm going to become a chef.
Wow, okay.
Basically.
So you studied in Greece?
In Greece, yes. And then I went to UK.
Okay. So if we talk about Greece first, how long did you study there for?
I did my chef school for 2 years, and then I got a scholarship at the University of Wolverhampton in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, outside Birmingham.
Okay, so then you did your 2 years within Greece.
Yes, correct.
How old were you when you moved to England?
I was actually 19.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
So let me just paint the picture for everybody. You have Greece, beautiful place.
Correct.
You have your family around you, of course.
Still living in Rhodes, beautiful island.
Right. Sunshine,
yes,
fun,
beach,
yes, all of this incredible produce, to then moving to England and Wolverhampton. Again, some people say it's a beautiful place. Some people say it's very grey.
Black City,
right? So how did you find it when you first moved there?
I don't know. It's a funny story, but I have something to share with you. Not many people know. First of all, being 19 years old, because directly after high school, I went to the chef school in Greece. So I was 17 and then did my 2 years in the chef school. And I got a scholarship on my 19 to the University of Wolverhampton. So I was only 19. Wow. Now listen to that. I didn't finish a college in Greece, but I was accepted at a university in UK.
How?
Bizarre,
Crazy.
Yeah, really crazy.
But I mean, great.
Great
I have to
for
say.
me, yeah. But this is how it happened. Why? Because at that time, my degree from the chef school was equivalent to, let's say, the college.
Oh.
And then with my tests and numbers, etc., I was able to gain that scholarship to go to the university at hotel and license retail management. Basically, that was the bachelor degree.
Right.
Anyway, 19 years old, not very familiar with the English language. Mm-hmm. Everything I knew was from movies, US movies, actions, westerns, etc.
Yeah.
So I take the decision to go. Family, There are so many kids studying here and there, schools. We are not that rich, you know. We are a decent, you know, mid-class family. So parents said, you can't go anywhere. Forget it. We don't have money to give you. What to do? You know, I have to do something. So I go through my apprenticeship through that chef school in the summer every year in Rhodes. I gain some money. I put them aside. And then at the last year that I got my scholarship, I have my pocket money from the summer work, and I travel to UK. Nobody knows about it.
Saved.
Yes. Nobody knows about it, about my mother. My dad, my late dad, now used to say, listen, if you go, you are on your own. Don't ask for money from us. My mom said, you know, go, it's your chance. We'll find the way, you know. I go there. James, listen to that. I reach, oh my God, you're laughing, but I get goosebumps.
I can imagine.
Listen to that. I reach at Manchester Airport, okay? I'm not still familiar where Birmingham is, where, Wolverhampton is, etc. But I have an idea. Okay, I go to Manchester, I had looked at it, and I will get the train, and I will just head down to Wolverhampton.
Okay.
The flight reached around 11 o'clock at night, winter, September and September. And, UK, dark, pitch black at 5 p.m. already.
Yeah.
11 o'clock at night, the airports start getting empty, slowly, no flights during the night. So I'm the only one basically left in the airport. The police officer started calling me, like, sir, you need to move. We've been watching you here, just sitting. I have no way how to communicate to anyone. I go out. I see that pitch black, no taxis around, nothing, It was, as I said, end of September. And I come back and I say, my God, what did I do to myself, And I was starting to think a way to go back. I said, listen, I will go take the next flight back to Greece. I will not say anything to anybody because everybody will say, we told you, don't go, don't do it,
Right.
I will look like I failed, because I didn't know how to reach the train station. I didn't know what sort of cabs I need to take to where. I just went with my gut and went to the UK. I go back to the airport thinking I will fall asleep inside the airport, and next morning I will take the first flight with any money I have left, and I will go back to Greece and will sort out myself. I'm sitting there for an hour, and suddenly I feel a pad in my back, and I hear my voice, Doxis, and I Doxis, I might be dreaming or something. I turned, and it was a very good friend of mine, older than me, that I was very close with his brother back in Rhodes, in my city.
No way.
And I turned my head, I said his name, Orestes, back then. I said, Orestes, what do you do here? He said, me? What are you doing here? So I explained the situation. I said, man, I'm studying here. I'm an ophthalmologist. I've been already here in Manchester for 2 years. Come along. And that's how my journey started in UK studying my bachelor degree in hotel management. I get goosebumps now.
My God, me too.
And that basically brought me where I am today, because if I hadn't stayed at that night, I don't know what my life will be. So it was, wow.
So how was, so, and also the thing is, what they don't tell you is, in Wolverhampton and different areas of England, there's very different accents as well, different things to eat, The culture is, of course, extremely different.
I have more things to tell you further down the conversation on this subject. You cannot believe it.
But, so you stayed in the UK. Did you finish the degree?
I did. It was excellent. But before that, I want to tell you something else. You will not believe that. When I reached finally the University of Wolverhampton for the enrollment day, the first day, I was obviously late trying to find my way around. I managed to reach there. And they told me, well, your course and the first class is, let's say, room A1, floor ground, for example.
Right.
I jump in, the classroom. And where is it? The moment I open the door, it's a huge amphitheater where I see like 1,500 people from all over the world. And I'm like, you know these cartoons we sometimes see in TV where everybody suddenly stop and all the eyes are on you.
Oh my God!
Because there was a lecture going on from the professor for the first day, and I just slammed the door, went in, and suddenly everybody just turned their eyes on me, and I'm like, oh my God, cannot go worse. And within that silence, James, I hear 3 different voices: Doxis, 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 with Greek accent. You will not believe it. Who are those people? On my chef's degree, my chef schooling degree in Greece, in Rhodes, out of everything around the world, they got with me, not on the same class, they were actually previous class. So when I started my chef's school, they were already there 1 year. So when they finished, they went their life on, and I completed my degree a year after.
Right.
So I stayed 1 year and we disappeared, with each other. So I didn't know where these guys were. And they were, listen to that, out of the entire world, all universities around the world, all universities in UK, they pick that university to study themselves and continue their studies, where I had been accepted for my scholarship.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
My God, you cannot believe it.
Your heart,
it's like a book.
Yeah, and actually, you must have just felt so relieved.
Relieved, you cannot believe it.
That you had friends and people who you knew.
They were older than me. They were more, experienced. They were together. I was alone, so I felt like, my God, that must be a sign.
It's meant to be.
Yes.
It's meant to be. Like, really. But wow, that's incredible. Yeah. But look, what I want to also understand, Doxis, is from your CV, which is extremely extensive. You have, before your current job, may I say, you have traveled all over the globe: Singapore, China, Macau, Japan, London. I mean, so many places. Can you tell me, for you, why it was so important to travel as a chef?
Yeah, I have an opinion on it, even till today, as a chef, actually, but also as a person. That's my personality, basically. I had friends which are still friends with me, and we are very close and keep in touch from my days in the chef school in Greece. And when we finish our degree as chefs in Greece, some of them decide to just, pick a restaurant, a regular day, everyday restaurant, to stay there, work there, do, simple things, etc., which are great, and this is places where everybody like me and you go and eat every day. And they keep doing that till today. But for some reason, I always feeling that number one, I wanted to explore the world. And I always read and saw before that, being a chef, you have that ability to travel, to taste different products, see different things, cultures, etc. So I wanted to see how can I make that reality. So the first opportunity came with me going to UK, and then moving forward, I felt, if I reach from Greece to UK, nothing stops me to go anywhere I want. So that's how I basically move on. I was really bold and courageous in the sense of, I was jumping into applying for jobs that probably someone else in my age would say, are you crazy? No way they will pick you, because I was petite, thin, very small, not really good English back then. Not that my English are perfect now, but they get better with time. So everybody was like, no way, you can't do that. Don't do it. You will fail. But I just was always feeling that sense of urgency to move forward. Time is running by, and I need to do as many things as I can. That is what drove me to basically move from one place to the other, to try and see and taste. I wanted to meet people and try different food, because till my 16, 18 years old, I always used to try what we had in Greece. And for my 15, 16 years, what we had in our own city, nothing more than that.
Right.
So great produce, obviously, great quality, but I knew there are so many different things out there. This is what drove me, that eagerness to see things and try and smell and eat and,
But the other one that I wanted to sort of question you on, and again, this was before, you joined Emirates in Flight Catering. You had a lot of experience within hotels, restaurants, being a head chef, executive chef, all of that.
Yeah.
But you also have extensive experience within working in Michelin-starred environments.
Definitely.
So again, Gordon Ramsay, Daniel Boulud, Marco Pierre White, Mr. Marchesi, of course,
Italy,
absolute legend. Can you tell me why also it was important for you to immerse yourself at that Formula One level of kitchens?
There are a couple of different factors there, James. Actually, it's a great question. Probably nobody has asked me that before. It was very personal because, I'm always a very self-motivated person, and I always strive to do what I feel I want and what I feel is best for me. But while working, starting from UK, actually, I was very lucky to work with some of the chefs that you mentioned that eventually, they started seeing that I could do more and they were giving me more, obviously. But at some point, I was still within the same environment of a restaurant, for example. So I always was, this kind of young, in a nice way, arrogant Greek chef that was always getting bored quickly.
Right.
So I was always, had a very good rapport and, relationship with my Michelin-star chefs. And I always say, chef, you know what? I've been here for a couple of years. I'm doing so much, but I think I need to move. They were always thinking like, okay, which section you want to take? No, I don't want to take any section here. I want you to send me somewhere else. And that's how I kind of make them believe that, listen, I'm going to go anyway because I'm going to see more things for me. I appreciate what I saw. I appreciate what you teach me, and I'm going to use all of them. And I will make my own, path with what I learned from you. Can you send me somewhere else that I get even more? So basically what happened, I was lucky enough to have those chefs appreciating what I do and actually basically suggesting me to other chefs of that caliber to do things and work for them. So that's how I kind of moved from one of that high level of cuisine from one chef to the other. Of course, I was, I had my own plans as well. There were chefs, as we all have now. You look up at them as mentors and say, you know what? I always read his books. I will definitely going to work for him one day. And there are still chefs, because we chefs, no matter how old we are so passionate about what we do. So we always feel like, you know what, even if I'm 50, 60, I will definitely going to spend, some time with this guy because I grew up with his books and his recipes. I'm going to see it firsthand,
But what I want to also take away from you for now, you have obviously must have seen a lot of different managerial styles, shall we say,
For sure.
in those kitchens. What were the biggest lessons for you? Because I'll just explain it to you. I've worked with some of these guys, and some have what I would say. Some people would say aggressive. Some people would say passionate. Some people would say that some of the chefs are very nurturing, and of course, in that experience, you take away the very best that you can. You don't become that person because that's impossible. But you take away the sort of managerial styles, as you like, because, again, as a chef, nobody teaches you how to really become a leader. It happens over a period of time.
True.
But what was your biggest lessons when working with these guys, and how did your style of management was it shaped by the Michelin world, would you say?
I will definitely say so. Yes, indeed. It was shaped, but not to the extent that is and the form that I do manage people and business today.
Right.
Why is that? Because, as you also mentioned, each one of them had their goods and their bads, to my opinion, right? Back then, I only used to just listen and do, you know? Yes, chef. That's it. That's our term, and till today we use it. And you know what? Nowadays, I realize that motto, that answer back, yes, chef, it's not about following the boss. It's about showing respect for the experience that your chef has gone through and is trying to, in any way or form, pass it on to you. Because being there is also that lead chef showing trust on you, on your face, on your skill set, to make things happen for him. Nowadays, I realize that yes chef is not a boss talking to someone down, or like, you know, we speak to our dogs, stand up, sit down. No, that's not actually. Back then, to me, being a young chef, it felt very much like that. And I had my ego-driven approaches and fights in many occasions. I'm not going to lie with that. But I realized that they all have gone, like us in our days now, we have gone through, blood, sweat, and tear, actually, to reach where we are. It's all about what you, basically, as you said, me, accumulated around all these years from so many people and then filtered down to make it your own. Right now, my management style and the way I teach people and I run my business is not the way I used to, or I will used to do it back then. But what I learned and what I experienced back then made me change that management style and make it my own today, which is definitely different, but it still has that, to a certain extent, some traditional aspects of the past, meaning either we like it or not, there's no democracy in the kitchen. You know, you cannot have chefs doing anything they want, anytime they want.
Correct.
If there is a recipe that we need to follow it by heart, everybody to the line, you know, to the grammage. Why? Because someone has put some thought into it, have, spent a lot of time on it to make sure that everything ties up together, flavor-wise, produce-wise, texture, etc. But also, you cannot just allow anyone to do whatever they want in a dish. There will be no consistency. Guests will realize that, repeated guests, etc. So eventually that will end up being a problem. So not democracy in the kitchen, but within the development phase, I'm always open to, give the stage to the team and say, okay, guys, we need to develop X amount of meals for that season. Let's put our ideas all together. And out of 10, let's pick the 2. And out of the 2, let's pick the one that is the one.
Right. Well, then if we get onto your job now, which is rather a large title, Vice President, Culinary Shared Services Concept Development for Emirates In-Flight Catering. Now, let's get into that. So please simplify that for us. What is it that you are fully responsible for when it comes to Emirates In-Flight Catering?
Yeah. I'll start by saying what's the ultimate goal, and then break it down backwards.
Right.
The ultimate goal, currently as we speak, is to ensure that we provide great meals on board the aircrafts for all regions where we fly to, and different menus on a monthly basis, which include and are designed based on availability of produce, regional profile flavors of each region we're flying to and where those dishes are developed for, budgeted restrictions, budgeting restrictions and costs, and of course quality of produce that we can avail here in UAE. Of course, we don't get everything locally. We know we are in Dubai, and we rely a lot on products that are bought in and brought in the country from abroad. So for us to be able to, starting from the concept development side of things, design and develop menus and meals for every single region and every single sector we fly to, it takes a lot of time. We actually work 2 years ahead to ensure that within a year the menus are done. And then we have 1 year before the actual launch of the menus to do everything else around it. Find the right suppliers, try the products, source the material, stock it, try it, scale up the recipes, and ensure that we do the proper trials we need to do to ensure that everything is top-notch before the actual day of that menu or that meal being served on board the aircrafts.
Okay, so I want to break down everything you've just said because there's a lot of information that I think our viewers and listeners would love to know. Firstly, when you say regions, how many regions are there, or how do you break it up?
We split the regions into 6 basically. We have Asia, Japan, and Australasia. Then we have Gulf, Middle East, and Africa. Then we have Northern Europe, Southern Europe, Indian subcontinent, and then we have, of course, US and Canada, Northern Europe, Northern US.
Okay.
So basically 6 different regions. Now think about it.
They're huge regions.
They're
as well.
huge regions, and each region has its own,
Yes.
within sub-regions. If you take the India subcontinent, northern India, southern, east, west, they are completely different. And let me tell you, you cannot believe it, how proud each customer is for the regional food they come from.
100%.
So if you are from northern part of India, some people don't really want to even read in the menu northern or southern part
Yes.
of Indian food, or vice versa, So it's a lot.
So after you've got your regions, then you said it takes 2 years, or you're developing.
The developing phase
The
is 2
development
years.
phase is 2 years. Then after that, you've got that. So halfway through, you're getting all the suppliers, all of that sort of thing, before it goes live. So if we work, let's say, backwards. So let's say today is the first day of the Australasia menu, right? Let's say. What's the process after that? So you're in development. You've got your menu. I'm interested in about the tasting phase, because obviously you will have the full idea. You've written the menu. Okay, all the costings are done. Everything is cool. Suppliers are all sorted. You start plating up. You're all good. Your team is happy with what you've done. What's the next phase before the menu actually goes live? How many people does it go to for them to sign off?
So once the menu is developed, what we do is, first of all, we do an internal trial for the entire menu within the flight catering. So basically, we go through every single dish, and we basically try every single component individually, but as a whole meal itself. So if, let's take an example of, you have, because you mentioned Australia, let's say an Australian beef with, let's say, truffle mashed potato, some asparagus, whatever, and a sauce. We will try the mashed potato on its own. We will try the asparagus if they are grilled or sautéed or steamed, if they are okay, if the seasoning is well, if the mashed potatoes are well, the texture is okay, if the flavor is there of the truffle, then we will see the tenderloin steak on its own. Is it grilled properly? Is it sautéed properly? Is it pan-fried? Whatever the cooking method is. Then we will check the core temperature. We will see the coloring on the outside. All these aspects are basically photographed, documented on single papers for each, and then agreed with the actual client. So if we cook food and prepare food for Emirates, all these parameters will be agreed to the minimum, to the point, with Emirates. And what we do then is once this is signed off for individual component, and then we try the whole meal as a combination of ingredients, and we are happy with it, that then goes to the production side of things, where we scale up the recipe. So, when we develop meals, we develop them by doing, recipes of 6, 10, 12, that's about it. Then we have to scale up the recipe to ensure that the same results come for 50, 500, 1,000 or more recipes of the same for every single day. So that's a lot. And once this is signed off and agreed, that menu, that meal is flown and loaded on the aircraft. That doesn't stop there though. Then while the menu is running on a daily basis, we have internal audits where we pull randomly meals from our production kitchens, and we go inside and we say, okay, bring me that steak, bring me that appetizer, that hot meal, that dessert, bring me that salad over there, bring me that starter, whatever, everything. And then we'll go again line by line. We pull out on the screen all our agreed specs, and then we go line by line. First of all, presentation. We have a panel of chefs, executive chefs, executive sous chefs. We sit down and we go one by one the parameters that have been agreed. Flavor, profile, taste, presentation, weights, if there are any deviations, because we say that the mashed potato must be on that side of the dish, the beef must be on that side of the dish, the asparagus must be so many pieces that end up being so many grammage, and then we try it, we scale them one by one individually, the ingredients, then we scale up the entire meal altogether. Shouldn't be over or below, because we're talking about huge number of portions on a daily basis, and one extra berry on a dessert might mean 200,000 berries that will cost a fortune to someone. So those things is
like, so because, and because also that's quite interesting from an internal perspective. You told me, within your kitchens, then you'll pull out the demographic or the specific thing that you want to taste.
Yeah.
But how about then, how do you audit the meals once they're up in the air? Who does that? Is it your chefs? Is it the staff? Is it the bursar? Could it be one of the corporate executives from the brand? Who does that?
So there are several different people actually doing that. Number one, we have that process that I explained earlier. We have an internal tasting where a panel of our production chefs go through on a daily basis and pick and taste meals. Then we have obviously quality department, that is an independent department within the flight catering, that they do also random checks on a daily basis, and they come back to us with findings, which we obviously adjust and correct if needed. In addition to that, we have regional catering managers from the client side that are in charge and overlooking their specific region. So as we develop meals for 6 different regions, then from the client side, we have leaders that are responsible, catering managers, as we call them, that are responsible for that specific region.
Okay.
So on a weekly basis, each one of them comes and tastes his own region menu, and they are free to pick and choose whatever they want. Now, there are different ways of doing it. They might pick meals that they have heard feedback from the crew, feedback from the manager, from the management, or feedback from their own experience that they saw on board, because they do a lot of duty travels. They travel around the world to see also other caterers that we have around the different airports around the world. So on their travel, they might pick things that maybe they are uncertain of how they should be or how they should be, and they're not. So they will come back and they will say, Chef Doxis, we would like to see this because we were not happy with what I saw, for example, on board. Or, Chef, we saw we receive this report from the crew that this dish gets stuck on the foil, or it gets burned too quickly, or it has a weird smell, etc. So all these aspects are put together, and based on that, we check meals accordingly.
Because also, I mean, there's a lot to sort of, pardon the pun, digest here.
Of course.
Because, I mean, it's a really sensitive thing also. Meals on a plane, people for some reason when they travel and Emirates is one of those incredible airlines which does have beautiful food. Doesn't matter whether you're on economy or first class. It's always up to a certain level. But the other thing which I want to sort of talk about in quite a lot of detail is the hygiene aspect and also the dietaries, because you've obviously heard of different cases in different airlines around the world where people have unfortunately have had allergies and the crew are not aware, so on and so forth. So not only is it the responsibility of the airline crew to have the knowledge about the food, but also for yourself, how do you manage, those two things? Because dietary requirements are actually an incredibly important thing, and it's not about the intolerances. I'm talking about allergies. Secondly, it's the hygienic part, because those two things obviously go hand in hand, and
I can tell
especially
you, James,
from an airline perspective,
exactly.
You have to be extremely critical.
It's very, very critical for us, and very, very important. Actually, is priority number one, safety and hygiene. And I will take you back to your previous question on my title. The first part of my title is VP of Culinary Shared Services. What that entails when it comes to shared services related to culinary. Basically, I manage the health and dietetic department, where we have proper, educated, with degrees dietitians that look after all the allergen and compliance subjects when it comes to food, ingredients lists, and everything that we serve, we cook, produce, and serve on board. And this doesn't go just for Emirates. We're talking about 120 other airlines that we produce food for, because in the flight catering we don't, we produce food for every other airline that lands here in Dubai. So
that's huge.
It's huge.
120 other airlines.
Yes. It's a lot.
So that's huge responsibility as well.
So what that means is that the health and dietetic department will check and validate every single product that comes in from outside, be it ready to eat, be it ready to prepare and consume, everything that relates to special meal requirements. They will be the first ones actually to validate that we are able to use that product on what meals exactly. So, for example, if we are to use a gluten-free product for a gluten-free menu, they will be the first ones to validate this produce and basically give us the okay to say, okay, chefs, you can now use those products for that purpose.
Got you.
But there will also be moments that, we might, as chefs, have crazy and creative ideas in our mind. We'll bring the products in and say, wait a minute, only by seeing them, half of them don't go. There are restrictions, for example, on child meals that, you'll not believe it, but there are things there that are not allowed.
Right.
Seeds, nuts, things that might swallow and cause,
asphyxiation.
Yes, things like that, large pieces of grapes, etc.
Okay.
So for us, you might think that, fresh fruits is fine, just grapes. But that's not just that. So this team will validate all these parameters and will allow us to basically be able to design menus that can't go wrong, basically. Now, another part of that shared services management is we also have the standards and specifications team, which basically is what I mentioned earlier. This team basically puts together all the documentation required in regards to recipe standardization, photographs of each meals, plating guides and how they should be plated on board by the crew for the customer to enjoy, all the different agreements that we have within our clients, weights, taste, all the different comments that need to go there and signed off. And then we have the Insights and Intelligence, another department, which is again, it falls under my department, which is basically a department where we build internal systems, reporting tools and applications that allows the operational departments like us, culinary, kitchens, production, to basically forecast easily, accurately, on time, allows procurement to, match those numbers with what they see and what they can get in the market, applications like digital menus, so it's easy for us to scroll through thousands and thousands of recipes throughout the years because, the flight catering is there for more than 30 years. It's not new. So you understand that the data bank of recipes that we have over there is amazing. It's crazy big.
So then how do you control the hygiene standard part of it?
The
because
hygiene
that's
standard,
huge.
it's broken down into two different things. Basically, we have food safety and food hygiene and quality at the same time. All these sections basically work more of as independent departments within the organization. And why is that? Because we want to ensure that there is no bias and there's no concerns when it comes to being realistic, honest, and basically ready for anything that is to come. We ensure that food safety and quality departments, along with food hygiene, are departments that have full teams under their belly. They do regular checks on a daily basis. They are very strict with us. They raise non-conformance reports that we basically get penalized if we don't follow certain procedures.
Right.
So the system is very rigid and very strict, and we like it. If you're asking me, we like it because we want to be at that level. We want to make sure that we leave nothing to lack or.
So then if we talk about the numbers, you mentioned earlier 120 different airlines. So then to put it into scale, I would like to know, first of all, how many chefs you have in that kitchen, and secondly, what are the number of meals that you're producing per day?
Yeah, so we have different production areas or units in different areas, basically. We have in the main building here in the Dubai Airport, International Airport, the flight catering, we have three different areas, basically, three different buildings. One building is dedicated to our central commissary kitchen, where we do all the prep for all different meat, fish, vegetables, etc. that we receive from outside, from our vendors, our suppliers. Then we have, on the same building, we have two floors, basically, that are dedicated to bakery, where we develop and produce thousands and thousands of different bakery items, from the smallest cookie to the big loaves that you see on board, the croissants. I'm talking about thousands of pieces. And then we have two different buildings more that are one dedicated to produce and serve other airlines and the economy appetizers and desserts for Emirates, and another building, which is the newest one, that produces everything for the premium cabins of Emirates. In addition to that, though, we have in different areas production units for our economy meals, which is massive as well. And obviously, we have also a collaboration, an entity which is our vertical farm, Bustanica, as well as our Kosher Arabia kitchen, where we do kosher food. And of course, now we are working on developing, actually it's open already, a central production kitchen where basically we will do bulk production of certain mass-produced items like rice, pasta, stocks, and sauces.
Got you.
Yeah, so it's more standardized, more consistent, and
but how many chefs do you need to sort of
all
have an
in all,
operation like
all
that?
in all, we are approximately 2,500 to 3,000 chefs. That's massive. Don't ask me. I don't know the names of all
no issues.
one by one.
So then if we're talking, so 2,500 to 3,000 chefs. Let's say on a daily basis, on what do you produce meals wise, if we include all the cabins?
Yeah. The flight catering produces approximately anything between 220 and 240,000 meals every single day.
365 days a year.
365 days a year. Needless to say, James, that, obviously when it comes to, national days, celebration days, different promotional activities, this might spike and add up and another 20, 30,000 meals.
So how do you, what does a typical day look like for you? When because again, I don't want to freak out, but I'm just thinking like, what a responsibility to sort of do that on a daily basis. It's not easy, but to ensure that you do that, of course, you have to have an incredible team, which I no doubt you absolutely do. But what is a typical day for you?
Every time someone asks me this question, I always give the example. This famous picture of Einstein with his hair, all spiked up. It's pretty much like that. But anyway, joke apart, I have to say that the business is a very well-oiled machine. Everyone in every department knows exactly what to do when. Of course, it's a huge and massive, operation, and things might go wrong. But that's why we are here, and that's why we always strive to develop the best practices, the best processes, adapt to our digital systems, and create SOPs that will allow us to minimize these incidents to the minimum, basically to zero. Now, what happens on a daily basis is, I'll give you an example of my day. We'll come in the morning, we'll have a briefing with the team, we'll look at what's the day look like, we'll break down the tasks and who does what. And then at the end of the day, we'll have also another debrief of what happened within the day, if there were any hiccups, and what is the next day look like. Now, within that day, after that morning briefing, you will have to go through the production areas, check that everything is in place, everything is as it should be, all the orders are going through, all the production that's supposed to happen that day is okay. You will check with the leaders, chefs, if anything is, needs to be discussed. There's a lot of different things going on because, as I said, the operation is big. We have multiple different leaders that are looking after different areas, and each one of them has its own agenda and deliverables. So we need to ensure that we, as culinary shared services, support that entire function,
Right.
that everybody else can deliver. Because one thing is developing something on paper, another thing is making it happen, where everybody else comes into play. All these 3,000 chefs we talked about really put their little stone in the accusation to ensure that, that builds up to be the top.
Because, it's just, there's so much going on.
A lot.
Right? But the other, because I've got so much to ask. So obviously, if I go back again to the development side of things. Now, people may or may not know that the food on board obviously is not cooked, it's not pre-plated or done by a chef, right?
Correct.
So the meals are already loaded on board, pre-ready to go, and they are in a hot box per se, and they're given to the guests. Now, what I'm interested in, we all know about the economy, but if we then go to, let's say, business class or first, when it comes to that sort of food, it's the crew plating it, or is it? Do you have like an in-house chefs? How does that work?
I'll tell you. All the meals for first class, first of all, everything is fresh, done last minute, only a few hours before departure. And there are specific plating guides given to the crew, which also the crew is being trained to.
Okay.
To do. So what happens on board is when the customer orders his food, basically the crew hits the meal on specific times, on specific temperatures. Everything is written down to the detail. And the crew actually has been trained to do that. And they plate it based on our guidelines and the training that they have, seen before. Now, we have galley operators those are basically not chefs, but they are crew that are more keen and have a flair with food, plating it, they are more gentle. They like being creative and around food. So we focus, we train all the crew, obviously, but the ones that are the galley operators, as we call them, are the ones that basically take the responsibility to do the plating, etc. And so far, they're doing basically fantastic, amazing job.
I mean, it's incredible. And when you look at those menus that you guys are doing, I mean, it must be quite interesting for you because obviously, as I previously mentioned, you've worked at Michelin-starred, level.
Yeah.
So because it's also not easy to get that level when you're flying. It's and also it's not just about the food, of course. It's also and the level of service that they have to give. It's quite full on.
Yeah.
But then one thing that Dubai is known for, of course, is we had COP28 earlier on this year, sustainability and all these sorts of things. So when it comes to your job, if we talk about the food waste aspect of things, now people could potentially could say, well, okay, it's great that Emirates is doing this, and this, and you've got so many numbers of meals per day. But how do you reduce the amount of food waste that goes through? Because there are huge numbers of volumes that go through the doors on a daily basis. How do you tackle this?
Well, I mean, the organization has a lot of different initiatives in place for waste management, and basically and that happens for both sides, the client and the flight catering. And starts from the development phase of the menu itself. Why? Because, we'll take into consideration, as you said, the food waste management, and we try also to not overdo in regards to the options we provide. If we are able to reduce a little bit the SKUs or the different dishes we provide, we will do that. If we can find synergies in between, we will do that. Of course, we want to make sure that we also give that freedom of choice to our customers. And, it's a little bit of give and take over there. It's a fine balance. But it starts from there. Then, obviously, there are different tools in place and systems, especially with the use of AI nowadays, that allow us to know exactly how many products we need to procure and order, how many of those are to be produced and at what time. For which flight, because we have flights throughout the day and night. It's a 24/7 operation. You go today at the flight catering at 3:00 at night, and you feel it's like a regular 8:00 morning shift because it's non-stop. It doesn't feel there is a night shift, for example. So there are different AI tools used to ensure that we calculate properly the produce that is coming in is bought in, ordered and bought in, stocked, used, when are to be used, for how many flights, what times are the flights going away. So everything are calculated to the grammage. Of course, there will still be elements that we need to consider, because don't forget that it's a living organization. You get, last minute increases because, people travel and, till the last minute that they can book a ticket, they will do so. So we also consider those aspects. We tried nowadays to not buffer up our production menus that much. We used to do more previously in the past. Nowadays we try to keep it lower,
Right.
and be more accurate with our assumptions and our production numbers, and that works. In addition to that, there are systems in place that, again, with the use of AI to a certain extent, that allow our passengers, our guests, to pre-order meals. So, of course, if you know exactly who's getting what, you don't need to produce everything else as an option. So these tools allow us basically to reduce that food waste as much as we can. It's a work in progress. Nobody's perfect, but I think that adds up to the accusation. And believe me, the results are really promising. And we see a big difference already.
No, absolutely. But the other thing which I think is incredible is that, of course, you have this amazing partnership with your vertical farm.
Yeah.
And we have the technology these days when it comes to food composting is massive. And of course, there's lots of that happening within the region.
Yeah.
And I think we're really doing everything we can to reduce the food waste and be as sustainable as possible.
Indeed.
But the other one I wanted to sort of also ask you, we had what I would say a freak historic day or days this year in Dubai when it came to the storms.
Yeah.
Everybody was affected by these storms. And I wanted to sort of ask you, because the airport and Emirates is such a centralized, huge part of the city, how was that day? Because I know many hospitality people, chefs, so on and so forth. Everybody was on sort of red alert or go, because you had to look after guests,
Of course,
and you
of
had to
course.
look after staff, so on and so forth. How did Emirates in-flight catering cope on those particular days?
Well, I mean, I can't say much around it, but I will say that from the production side of things, from the culinary side of
Yes.
things, it was obviously a weather disaster. It was not something that you could predict to that level.
Yes.
And it was unique. For that matter,
Certainly.
unique for many, if not all, including us. But one thing that I can say that it was also really beautiful for me to see is that because of the size of our facilities and because of our ability to produce food in the volumes I mentioned to you earlier, you cannot believe it, but even though it was very challenging, as you mentioned, to serve and please the customers, maybe customers that were stranded in the airport for whatsoever, all these
Yes,
reasons,
of
basically.
course.
We, some more, some less than others, but everybody had to be fed in any way or form. So don't forget that we had the food that we had already produced for the flights that's supposed to depart, that didn't. That food could not be used. Then we had to produce more food for the ones that were stranded
Right.
in the airport. And we did, actually. And you know what? We did, and we didn't really face a challenge per se, because, as I said, the space and the volume and our ability to have or to carry so much produce within the same environment within one day, stock up so much material for many different products and menus and meals. The challenge was more about getting that product out to the customers, because you need a lot of people to do that. So if you have 3,000 chefs that are trying to produce for so many people, you cannot use them also to serve that food. So the challenge was more about getting all together, which eventually we did, because we sent a lot of people from the flight catering to the airport, and within the Emirates itself, all together managed to have that great result in the sense of being there, next to the stranded passengers, serving them, feeding them, and making sure that they are okay till their next flight is available. It was a unique experience, but honestly, of course, we spent a lot of, we stayed there basically. The entire team, cooking, 24/7 for 3 days, constantly, non-stop. But that's what we do, For us, it was another one of those things that we actually just had to talk to each other and say, listen, let's get together, let's make it happen. The volumes weren't necessarily an issue per se. It was our anxiety to ensure that we have enough produce, because suppliers could not get in. So our anxiety and our concern was to ensure that till this is over, we have enough food in our facilities to provide to those people in need. And we did, actually. We didn't fail.
No, but I think that's one of the sort of things. I think it was so amazing how everybody reacted.
Did very well.
And what an incredible test, which we now know we can pass successfully.
Yes, indeed.
And I just think it's situations like that where everybody comes together, and it was just amazing. So I just wanted to understand that. Now, the other one I wanted to sort of go about from your perspective. What is the company's philosophy when it comes to culinary?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some keywords that we always use, which are basically our motto when we design and produce meals. Needless to say, we want to be the best, okay? We want to be the best at what we do. And what we do is design and cook food, for our guests. And how we do that? By ensuring that we leverage on the expertise of the chefs and the specialty chefs we have. So we have specialty chefs from all around the world. So when we design Thai food, we have Thai chefs designing the food. When we design Indian food from all different parts of India, we have literally all different parts of Indian chefs to do that, to ensure that authenticity, originality is there. In addition to that, one of the other two keywords is being honest and basically keep it simple. As long as we are proud and happy and honest with ourselves, with what we produce and do as chefs, then everybody will like it. And that's what our motto is, to ensure that we keep it simple, original, authentic, and basically honest, Because,
that's the other thing, is that what always stands out to me is what you guys are doing at Emirates. It really has set a standard and a precedent for the rest of the airlines.
Indeed.
Because you guys are so good at what you do, and because you have so many layers and structures to make sure that at every single point, everything is the best it can possibly be. It's really amazing. And, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
What are how do you see the next 5, 10, 15 years of food development within the airline industry?
Yeah, to go back to what you just mentioned, James, indeed, for us, food is one aspect of the experience. But it's not just that. We want to make sure that holistically that experience is tied up together and there is no difference in between each step in the process. So as a customer, as a passenger, in every touch point, you feel that essence of Emirates, which is all about, as I said, authenticity, originality, simplicity, honoring these values and, respect towards the passenger, towards the flyer. Now, where do you go after that? A good question. But if you're asking me, we really feel that we haven't reached where we want to be. We know that, as you said, and we always strive to set the standards and be pioneers in everything we do. And that's our goal and motto. There are a lot of things for us in the pipeline and a lot of things that we want to achieve more. And I'll give you a hint. One of the biggest struggle in that aviation culinary world is how to basically be able to deliver those little simple things, everyday things in regards to food, that we all crave and like and see each other on a daily basis, but are difficult to apply on board.
Right.
I'll give you an example. A nice bowl of French fries, for example. There's no airline that really does a fryer on board and then you have some nice French fries with a nice dip on the side or a cheese sauce on top or a truffle cream, whatever. These little things, challenging us a lot. And, even though our focus is on delivering the ultimate dining experience, like someone can enjoy on the ground, want to replicate the same 40,000 feet above the ground, on air. Yet again, we also want to have that street food style experience that everybody feel, well, you do so many things that are so wow, but can you give me that simple things, that nice shawarma wrap that feels like it's done right now, right
That's
there,
really interesting.
And for us, this is a challenge that we always, put ourselves on thinking about it. And
But I think that's also what's interesting about also culinary is that the world moves so fast. So the technology is also changing. Also when it comes to catering. So if I go back to a much smaller level, if you go to 20, 30 years ago, the kitchens that were on yachts, compared to now, it's completely different level. So it must be almost the same, the standard of flying that you had 30 years ago compared to now. It's, dramatically changed.
And it will change even more. There are things that we look at. There are things that we're actually working on designing now as we speak with different experts in the field that will come in the years to come. And that are really technologically advanced and will kind of, with that help of technology, help us and allow us to deliver some of those things. We're looking at many different ways of putting together the use of technology and equipment to produce meals that maybe is not possible to do so now on board. We're even thinking of sonic seasoning, you know very well, and it's been used in the past. The example of Aston Blumenthal, you're eating your seafood appetizer, you put your iPods on your ears and you listen to the sounds of the music of the sea. So there are a lot of things that we are in play with, and we try to see how we can develop further. All these are, in the pipeline, and we're working on them. And that includes indeed equipment and digital systems that will help us deliver.
But it's incredibly exciting to hear that. But one of the final questions I wanted to ask you is, you've been in the region for some time here. You have seen the explosion of gastronomy.
Indeed, in Dubai especially. Yeah.
especially here. What are your predictions for the future of dining, specifically within the Middle East?
I mean, with the arrival of 50 Bests Awards, with the arrival of the Michelin Guide, needless to say that this is a plus for us as chefs. This is a plus for the region overall, and has helped a lot of young chefs, entrepreneurs, to basically put themselves out there and make themselves known to the world. That's a plus. Where do I see it moving from here? It's definitely, as I said, helpful, but we will also see a lot of ins and outs, in the sense of a lot of openings, a lot of, unfortunately, closures as well. But at the end, this will help the good ones to continue be good and getting better and better and stay, and the ones that were not supposed to be there to just go away. And I believe the market will be smaller, but will be better. So I can only see that moving forward the best possible way. This has added up to the culinary scene and restaurant scene value, and I can only see it getting better and better year by year for the region. I can see, cuisines that were, in the background for so many years, coming into the front seat now, to the front burner, and being in the front line of newspapers and awards. And this is a plus for me because, Greek cuisine is one of the, Indonesian cuisine is another, the Arabic food itself. There are so many different regions and differences between regions and countries in the Arab world that nowadays you can see that restaurants basically come along with their own identity, following their own traditions.
Yeah.
And that's a plus for
I love that. And we celebrate them and welcome them even more.
And we should keep doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing that just came to my mind, Doxis, is that I interview a lot of chefs, a lot of restaurateurs, a lot of owners, and some of which have massively contributed towards the dining scene here in Dubai and the Middle East. And then it just came to my mind, actually, Emirates and Emirates in-flight catering and what you and your team are doing have also massively placed us on the culinary map. It's and I don't think we've really sort of spoken about it in detail because you're not a restaurant per se.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But in a way you are, and everything that you're doing and the way that you're developing and the way that you say to me, if we're doing Thai food, we have a Thai chef. All these details and all the development and all the work that yourself and your team are doing are also changing the culinary landscape here. And it's really true. And I'm thinking about it now. And it's just like, actually, you guys are at the forefront.
Exactly. Yeah, and if I say a couple of words, thank you, James, for that. Really, it means a lot to me, to the team over there, because don't forget, I've been with the flight catering the last 5 years, but the organization is there for the last 30 years.
Yes.
So there's great team members that are there from day one.
Wow.
That are putting that stepping stone to the actual, flight catering and reach the point that we are today. But what I can say is, at the end of the day, we produce food for the national carrier of Dubai and for so many other airlines. The fact that so many, in the volumes we produce, 200,000 plus meals per day, in the consistency levels that we do so, with great customer satisfaction results, etc. Don't forget that it's not an easy task. And this is a proud moment, not just for us, it's for the region, it's for Dubai. And I think we should all be proud as colleagues, all be proud as residences here, here in the city. Because, as you said, we serve customers from all over the world. And they come, they try, they go back, they try again on their way out. And this is something that they will always remember. And I believe, indeed, we put our small stone there as well to the city.
100%, 100%. Now, Doxis, we have come to the famous quick fire questions for you. So I've prepared a few just specifically for you.
Okay.
So, firstly, I'll start slowly. Are you spicy or pickled?
I will say pickled.
Shawarma or souvlaki?
I will definitely go for souvlaki.
Hummus or tara masalata?
No question, tara masalata.
Now, I get asked this all the time on the flight. Chicken or beef?
I will go for beef.
Now, I think this is going to be a tricky question for you. What would you say are your top 3 cuisines that you love to eat right now?
Definitely number 1 will be Japanese for me. Number 1 will be Japanese. Number 2 will be just, in general, multi-Asian. I love my noodles. I love, everything about Asian cuisine. Right. Be it Thai, Vietnamese, you name it, Korean. And of course, I cannot just leave it out. My Greek heritage,
of course.
Mediterranean, Greek food is...
So then, who would you say, for you, are your top 3 culinary heroes? And they don't necessarily need to be chefs.
Might sound cliche. I have heard it from others as well. But I know why, and I mentioned it also earlier. Who helped me become a chef without me knowing that she was helping me was obviously my mother. Not because she purposely made me help her while she was cooking at home, but because she inspired me to come and check and see and then eventually help her. And then, as that grew, actually made me feel like, oh, I love to do that. And still till today, I rather eat her food than mine, So when I go on vacation, I will definitely, she's always asking, oh, will you cook something? No, you do that. Then I will go with chefs for the rest because actually one more chef. The rest will be, the second one will be my father, my late father, because there is a specific reason. Growing up, tough Greek, chubby father, very strong, very firm, but fair at the same time. He used to be a police officer, so even more tough, but he had a passion about agriculture. So he will go, he used to work for something as the one we have here in Dubai, CID. So it was in many occasions undercover, all this stuff. So he will come maybe after 12, 13-hour shift, and he will just go to the olive trees. He will start, spraying them, making sure, cleaning them, that everything is fine. He will, plant the tomatoes, the zucchinis, etc. And I was like, and he will always call me and my brothers, oh, you should come and help. And we were always pissed off, like, oh, come on, it's a Saturday, oh, there's no school, why we should come, want to go play, etc. But it's only after that you can get to understand why he loved all those things. Because basically, not just the food itself, which is great for me, and that's what I always found and remember about, and the flavors and the taste and the color of this produce that we used to have at home, but also because it's a way to get you out of this hustle and bustle of the day-to-day work. And that was my late father. And number 3, I will say Gutierrez Marchesi in Italy, because I was very young when I used to work there. late Gautiero Marchesi. He was actually the first one. I get goosebumps now that I'm saying it. He was actually the first one because he was not young also. Even when I went there, not old, but not young either. And there was no complex. He had 3 Michelin stars. He was, Eurotalks president back then. He was the main person to talk, not only in Italy, all over the world. At that point, I couldn't really comprehend the size of his knowledge, his ability, his name, his, he was well known. And he taught me a lot. Both professionally and personally, because he was a very kind person. So he was really a gentleman.
From all of your years in the industry, we've all had some type of funny incident or accident. For you,
oh my God,
what's been the funniest restaurant, kitchen, or in-flight incident that you've ever seen or been involved in?
I mean, sorry for my noises, my weird noises, but oh my God, I cannot get over it, Okay. I used to study in UK, as I told you. I finished. I jumped from Wolverhampton to London to go to work. Where I land to? A nice, small, little Greek restaurant. Of course, my stepping stone in the London scene. Let's start slow. It was called back then, I think, Café Corfu. To be honest, I don't even know if it's still there. Probably is. You can imagine, I'm, 22, 23 years old, skinny. Like really skinny, small, short hair, not the hair you see now. Really like nowhere close to a head chef. So I take the position of a head chef. I'm Greek. I have the origin. I know the know-how of the food. So the owner says, "You are the man. We want a Greek chef. You do it." Okay. So
very young.
Yes. So I'm like, oh my God. So there you go. A customer comes in. Things go well. Suddenly, I want to see the chef. I want to see the chef. What is this? I want to see the chef. I want to see the chef. Oh my God, everybody, chef. Me, I don't speak very good English. I don't speak, so comfortably and, so outspokenly with customers because I'm still young and very new in the job. It was maybe the first 3 months. Chef, you have to go. And he's Greek also, Greek, born and raised in London. So I said, oh my God, both these two together don't really go well. Anyway, I go out. I go next to the table. Yes, chef. Yes, sir. How may I assist you? Who are you? Go away. I want to see the chef. I'm sitting there. I am the chef. Are you joking or you are a child? Go bring me the chef. Oh my God, I cannot be more embarrassed than that. So I get annoyed and then my Greek heritage kicks in. Excuse me? Then I start speaking in Greek, obviously, with him. Did you just call me a child, a kid? Out of here, I'm the chef. You like it or you don't like it? This is my food. We had a heated argument. And at the end, the guy stood up, hugged me. I wanted to congratulate you. I cannot believe it that someone like you have done such a good food. I've been in UK my entire life. And I was like, my God.
Oh, my
come on,
God.
Man, just say it from the beginning, I was so embarrassed in the beginning.
Your heart must have been like...
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But it was a funny story. And people still... talk about it, and yeah.
And it was a full restaurant then?
It was a full restaurant. That's why I was embarrassed.
Oh my word.
God. You cannot believe it.
What advice would you give to 16-year-old Doxis Bekris?
Oh. Whoa, that's a tough one. Look, James, I wouldn't change anything in what I did and how I did it. I don't have any regrets. I actually had a good, career path. I'm very happy about it. I'm very proud. I had a good childhood with the family. But when it comes to, because it's actually the time that I was thinking of what to do. I follow what my gut said at that moment, and I don't want to change it. But what I would have told him back then is, you should really go out of your way to achieve things. Because back then I can remember that I was stepping back in occasionally, thinking twice things, losing time, and then eventually deciding to go forward. And then looking back, I lost 1-2 years.
Right.
And then I made it, and I made it well,
Yeah.
I should have done it when I first thought about it. So I would have told him, you know what, you thought about it, you just go for it.
So then what advice would you give to any young chef or young hospitality professional?
Yeah. Just, make sure that, believe in yourself. And don't listen to the surrounding, and just make sure you're patient and persistent, and things will fall into place. That's all.
So then if people wanted to follow you, Doxis, or get hold of you, how can they get hold of you through Instagram or LinkedIn?
Definitely. Both Instagram and LinkedIn. Instagram, my full name, Doxis Bekris, Doxis Bekris. That's my account. They can contact me directly. LinkedIn, the same, Doxis Bekris. Everything is there. No issues. They can all just touch base.
I'll put everything in the show notes also for everybody to
Awesome.
do that. Now, I just wanted to recap, Doxis, what we've discussed from your amazing childhood food memories, which I love, to your educational path, to then that flight to Manchester.
Oh my God.
To then, of course, your friend seeing you.
Yeah.
Of course, going to university, running into the first class, and then again, 3 of your friends just happened to be there.
Unbelievable.
And, how amazing. To then your first few experiences within different kitchens, different culinary, working as an executive chef, culinary director, to then working with some incredible, legendary chefs, such as Marco Pierre White, Gordon, Mr. Mark, there's so many incredible guys, to then your current job, which is, I think, not everybody could do, managing 6 different regions, 120 different companies, almost 3,000 chefs, 240,000 meals a day, and the planning of menus, everything that you're doing. I mean, honestly, not everybody could do. On behalf of the Chef JKP podcast, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be here and giving us this amazing insight into your world. At the same time, a massive thank you to you and to your team for consistently providing excellence in the air and on the ground, because not everybody can do it. Please keep inspiring us, Doxis, because you really are one of those people at the forefront who is really driving the culinary scene behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes,
Indeed. So thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to get you on, and I know things are gonna skyrocket even more with you at the helm. So really, Doxis, thank you so much.
James, thank you very much for having me. Really, it was a pleasure, and hopefully we'll do that more often.
Absolutely.
Next time then.
Thank
you.
Just remarkable. 240,000 meals per day. 2 years to plan a new menu, and they also cater to several other airlines. The logistics alone are enough to give an aspirin a headache. I truly admire what Doxis and the entire in-flight team are doing, because this is not normal numbers. So many things to think about and to get right. I mean, honestly, it's an absolute minefield. I have a newfound respect for the entire team as they do such a fantastic job. I took away so many lessons from this conversation. It left me pondering about the entire in-flight catering landscape globally. Thank you, Doxis, for being so open and honest with us. And thanks for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come into the studio. It was a real honor to be able to sit down and have this interview. It's conversations like this that can really open our minds and think about the entire ecosystem of hospitality. It doesn't matter if you're a chef, a waitress, or not even in the industry. I guarantee you would have been able to learn something completely new today. If you want to see more of what Doxis is doing, I'll place all of the details in the show notes. And don't forget that you can now watch us on YouTube. And if you haven't already, make sure to follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. I would just like to ask a small favor. If you like the show or think someone you know could learn a few lessons from the guests and the conversations we have, please share it, so that we can reach as many people as possible. And who knows, perhaps these episodes can inspire someone to take action and be the very best at what they do. Finally, a big fat thanks and muchas gracias to you for staying on and listening or watching the entire show. You are an absolute legend. Until next time, food is memories.